All right, we are recording. So welcome everybody. Third meeting of the year of the MSU Wealth Management Association. Thank you again for joining us. A couple announcements before we pass it off to our friends over at Raymond James. So first one is some upcoming events. This Thursday is the FPA Talent Connection. That's a great opportunity for anybody here, freshman all the way to senior, financial advisors all over Michigan, just offering advice to students and helping them get started in the industry. Totally free. The link's here in the PowerPoint, so you'll have access to that on Thursday. But if you guys want that any sooner, feel free to let us know. The next one is a Vanguard information session. This one's open to everybody, freshmen through sophomores. This is just kind of a intro into Vanguard's rotational program, their financial advisor intro program. That is next week, October 6th. So you guys will have the link for that as well. Next one here is Colin Overweg, something that's also happening this Thursday. So we actually released a podcast with Colin today. Colin's a Spartan alum, graduated pretty recently, I think in 2015. He started his own financial advising firm based out of Grand Rapids. It's very cool. And he's speaking at Professor Schiestel's Intro to Wealth Management class on Thursday at 4:10. So if anybody's interested in that, you don't have to be in the class. Email Professor Schiestel, there's his contact information, and they'll send you over the Zoom link. It's open to all WMA members. So last two here before we kick it over to the news team, definitely follow us on social media, MSU WMA, and then all the info for our teams are coming out this Thursday. So check your email for that if you signed up for the teams. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to the Spartan Journal news team, and I think Vincent's going to get us started.
Awesome. Thanks, Justin. So what I did my story about is the past 4 weeks, the stock market has not been doing very, very well. This is all due to decreased confidence of investors that have been crippled due to the coronavirus surges in the US and Europe. There are also signs that global recovery is slow and uneven. David Combs, head of multi-asset investments at Rathbone Brothers, said unless we get a vaccine for the population at large, the coronavirus course is uncertain. But despite this, economic data is also providing hints of recovery in manufacturing industry due to new orders of durable goods. Investors are also awaiting a new sign of a new government stimulus package, and also what will help investors' confidence is my story that I did last week of the third trial studies of Moderna and Pfizer, and see how those coronavirus vaccine studies come out. So yeah, the coronavirus course of action is still uncertain until the vaccine. Optimism for manufacturing cruise lines are increasing. So yeah, no, cruise lines are doing a lot better as of late. Their stocks have gone up, and Novavax is another company that is also working with an experimental vaccine, and their shares have gone up to 11%. So with that in mind, I'll pass it on to Jake now.
Thanks, Vincent. Yeah, so I did my story on Impreza Aerospace, which is a manufacturing company that makes parts for the 737 MAX. And as of recently, they just filed for bankruptcy protection. And their majority stakes owner, Twin Haven Capital, is buying them out of bankruptcy. I don't know if you guys saw, but there was a report from the House Transportation Infrastructure Committee that said that Boeing management has been insufficient. And also the airline executives last week went to the White House and asked President Trump for $25 billion in aid so they don't lay off employees as of right now. And so now I'll pass it on to Oscar.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate you. So my story is about the COVID relief, COVID recovery. Of course, everybody knows the economy crashed back in March, stock market at least. And we've been seeing some recovery over the past 6 months, but we're starting to lose steam. A lot of that recovery was coming from the fact that in between March and June, there was a large amount of savings that a lot of small family households were creating because of stimulus that was added via the government and low expenses that were usually due to travel, work, and stuff like that. So people had extra funds that were keeping America's spending high for the past 6 months. but that's starting to lose steam. And it's very reminiscent of 2008, where we took a long time to act on the economic crash. And we released one stimulus package that only covered us, only took us so far. So right now we're seeing that the first stimulus package is starting to wind down. And this is not the best time to have economic momentum start to stagnate because we're going into a very volatile election season. And then with COVID still being unpredictable, there's a lot of uncertainty in the market right now. And there needs to be some sort of reassurance when it comes to American spending power so we can get on the right track for economic recovery. We don't want to see 2008 repeat itself. And I think if we learned from history before, we'll be able to move into an economic recovery. That's enough for me. I'm going to pass it on to our esteemed colleagues at Raymond James, April Wingate and Shane Brown.
Hi, good to see you again, Oscar.
Good to see
Hi,
you.
everybody. Thank you for having us today. We are going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen with you. Do you all see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
Awesome. Let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is April Wingate, and I'm a town advisor with Raymond James Financial. And I've been with the firm for about 4.5 years now in different areas of human resources. And I've been in my current role for about 2 years. And I get to go out, and of course now virtually, and connect with students and share our pipeline opportunities. And those include our internships and our postgraduate programs. So I'm here today to go over our firm and our student and recent graduate programs. And then following my presentation, I have invited one of our financial advisors, Shane, who's going to speak about his experience with the firm and give some advice to anybody in your group, which should be everybody interested in wealth management. And we're happy to answer any questions at the end, of course. So let's get started. So first, let me go ahead and tell you a little bit about our company. We are founded in 1962 in a small downtown St. Petersburg, Florida apartment. And as you can see, that's a picture of our corporate headquarters on the right. We have grown a ton since then. Our founder is Bob James. He's the bald gentleman, and his son, Tom James, is in the photo with him as well. Tom does still work at Raymond James. And when we were going on site, I saw him almost every week. I saw him all the time. He works constantly, but our new CEO is actually Paul Riley, and not new. It's been since 2010. But since I see Tom all the time, it's like they're both there always. So that's awesome. But we also have a hub in Southfield, Michigan. So I wanted to highlight that to you all as well. We have it in Southfield and then Memphis, Tennessee are our other two large hubs. And we have investment banking and equity research offices all over the U.S. And we have our financial advisor branches all over the U.S. as well. And then we also have naming rights to the Buck Stadium. So sometimes people recognize our names from that as well. But now I'm going to go ahead and jump into our core areas of business. So our core areas of business are going to be investment banking, research, fixed income, our private client group, asset management, and our Raymond James Bank. The awesome thing about our core areas of business is all of them have entry-level positions and internships. So our investment banking and equity research opportunities are actually closed. We do our recruiting for those areas early. So we closed that out probably about 3 weeks ago. But if you did apply, don't worry. It's not like you didn't get the opportunity. We're just currently through the sourcing and interviewing stage right now. And then fixed income, we have these internship opportunities in Memphis, Tennessee, as well as our home office in St. Petersburg, Florida. And our private client group, which is our largest area of business, we have financial advisor branches all over the U.S., and they oftentimes do take interns. However, we do not recruit for them on a corporate level. They actually recruit for their own interns. So you would have to reach out to a branch that's either in your hometown or in your university and see if they're interested in taking a part-time fall or spring intern or a summer intern. And their summer interns sometimes are full-time and other times they're part-time. So you really just have to reach out and see what their needs are. And then asset management and Raymond James Bank both have internships at the home office. But just a little bit about these areas. Investment banking has over 400 professionals. Research has 90 research analysts covering nearly 1,100 U.S. and more than 300 international companies. Fixed income has 300 institutional salespeople and 100 bankers, servicing more than 2,400 institutional accounts. Our private client group has more than 8,200 financial advisors. Asset management has $145 billion in financial assets under management. And Raymond James Bank, we only have one bank. It's at our corporate headquarters. They have 23+ billion in total assets. So just high level about each of these areas. And a few things to highlight to you all. In 2016, we were named on the Fortune 500 list and have gone up since. In 2018, we joined the S&P 500. 2018, we were named Fortune's 4th most admired company. And in 2019, Raymond James was named in Forbes' America's Best Employer for Diversity list. And then we just hit 130 consecutive quarters of profitability, which is, of course, very exciting with everything going on right now. So those are just a few highlights to share with you all. As most of you, when I was in college, I was very involved in different organizations on campus, part-time job, internship, involved in a ton of different things. So when I was looking for a full-time job, I knew that I wanted to work for a company that had different things going on outside of my day-to-day job. And one thing that Raymond James has that's awesome is our inclusion networks. So we have 5 different inclusion networks at Raymond James. We have Emerge, which is our Young Professionals Network, Mosaic, which is our Multicultural Network, Pride, LGBTQ Network, WIN, our Women's Inclusion Network, and Valor, which is our Veterans Network. So these inclusion networks are awesome because they have different events going on throughout the firm. They have different mentorship programs, and they'll have like weekly newsletters or monthly newsletters and meetings. They have opportunity for leadership. So they all have different committees. So you can have the opportunity to sit on one of these committees and build your name throughout the firm as well as network a ton. But some events that they've had since we've been virtual, our corporate headquarters and most of our firm is virtual right now. So we're all working remote. About 25% of our firm is allowed to go back to the corporate headquarters and work if they choose to, but it is on a 100% voluntary basis. So all of our inclusion networks they've been doing their events virtually. So I just wanted to highlight a few different events that have recently happened. For example, our Pride Network in St. Pete, they have a big Pride Parade every year, and Raymond James has always been involved in it. But unfortunately, it was canceled due to COVID. So Tosh Elwin, who's the president of RJA, he decided to have a barbecue drive-through fundraiser. And basically, he sent his address out to the firm and said, if anybody wants barbecue, come to my house and I will give you a to-go box of barbecue. So he whipped up a ton of barbecue and people donated whatever they felt was appropriate. And all of the proceeds went to a Metro Inclusive Health Clinic in the Tampa Bay area. That's just one thing I wanted to highlight. Another thing that we've been doing is when last month had a lunch series. So every week of that month, there was a lunch and learn. So some of the topics that they covered were personal branding, a Be Mindful workshop. They had a yoga session to get everybody up and active. So these are just a few things I want to highlight. There's big things every year that the firm looks forward to. I know Valor has a big golf tournament that the firm looks forward to. And then Emerge has a big field day. So the firm is encouraged to get their department to create a group, and they have all the typical field day events, such as like balloon toss. They'll have 3-legged races and fun different things like that, so people's competitive sides can come out. So it's really a good time. I unfortunately face planted during the 3-legged race last year, but it was all in good fun. And as I had mentioned, Raymond James definitely has a culture of giving back to the community. So I just wanted to go over a few numbers with you all. In 2019, or every year actually, we have a Raymond James Cares Month. And this is one month that the firm encourages associates to get together the department and give back to the community in whatever way they see fit. So you can go to the Humane Society and play with puppies, or you can do a beach cleanup, or whatever you want. It's truly up to your department, but they encourage you to get out and do something. So in 2019, for our Raymond James Cares Month, we had 3,371 volunteers from branches and corporate teams. We volunteered for 10,408 hours. We served and packed 30,957 meals, and we supported 330 plus nonprofit organizations. So that's a huge deal. And also in our internship program, our summer internship development program, we do have a volunteer day, and we change it up every year because sometimes we have interns that are coming back to back. We have a volunteer day for our program as well, and that's always a really great time. But I'm sure you guys are interested in our student and recent graduate program, so let me go ahead and jump into those opportunities for you right now. So for anybody graduating this December or this May, you may want to listen up to our recent grad programs, which I'm going to go over now. So we have an accelerated development program in finance, as well as information technology. And both of these programs are going to be at our headquarters in St. Petersburg, Florida. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into both of these programs in a little bit. We also have investment banking and equity research programs, but as I had mentioned earlier, the applications for both of these programs are already taken down, so you can no longer apply, but if you have already applied, just hang tight. But these are going to be in larger cities all over the US. And if you are interested in investment banking and you're a younger classman, just keep in mind that we do start recruiting probably around the end of summer into very early fall for these programs. So you have to jump on the applications very early. And if you're interested in wealth management, which you all are, we have our Wealth Map program and our AMP program. And Sean's going to go ahead and go over these programs later with you all, and you can ask questions about those at the end. So now to jump into our Accelerated Development Program, which is also known as ADP Finance for short, is a rotational program. So it's at our corporate office in St. Petersburg, Florida, and it's a 19-month long program. So there are 4 different tracks you can apply to. We have a sales and trading track, risk management, investment research, consulting and wealth management, and financial analysis and accounting. So if you go on Handshake or on the Raymond James career site, you will see each of 4 of these posted. So if you're graduating this year and you're interested in a rotational program, I highly recommend you applying. And if you're accepted into the program, the first month would be training. So you get together with your cohort. We have an orientation for you. We teach you about our firm, our history, all of that good stuff. You'll get to spend a week at a financial advisor branch to learn what that area of business does, since they're our biggest area, and what they do on a daily basis. And then following that month of training, you get to rotate through 3 different areas in your specific track for 6 months at a time each. So this is an amazing, amazing opportunity, because you basically get to try out 3 different departments within the track of your interest. And then following the program, you get to decide which department that you rotate through you fit best in, which was most interesting. Where do you see yourself long term? So following the program, you get a promotion, you get a pay bump, a new title in the area of your interest, and it accelerates you at a quicker rate than, say, an entry-level associate. Some other awesome things about this program is they get to attend lunch and learns with our executives and other leaders. They get to work closely, of course, with senior leaders and associates as well. We encourage them to network throughout the whole program and throughout the rest of their career, because that's very important. We also have a mentorship program for them set up so they can have a mentor while they're in the program. And we obviously hope those mentorship relationships last throughout their career. And then, of course, they get to lead diverse and challenging projects. So again, these are posted now on our Raymond James career site. So if you are interested in a postgraduate rotational program, I highly recommend you applying. We typically look for a business major, internship or work experience in a related field of the track that you're applying to, on-campus involvement. You all have that since you're in this organization, which is great, but it's always awesome to have leadership roles within those organizations. So I encourage you to do that. And of course, general knowledge of financial services, a strong GPA, analytical and quantitative skills, and then understanding your own strengths and opportunities to develop. Because of course, it is a development program. You're going to learn a ton, and it's really a great time. This is Ariel. She was in our investment research, consulting, and wealth management track. She was a part of our 2018 cohort. And I just wanted to read a quote that is on our company website from her. There are several others, though. So it says, "My favorite part of working at Raymond James is the company's unwavering dedication to service and integrity. Raymond James stays true to its values no matter the situation, and at the end of the day, truly cares about people." And I definitely agree. So that's why I wanted to pull this, because as you can see in our previous slides, we care not only about our associates, our clients, but we also care about the community, and that's important when you're looking for a firm. So if anybody has a tech background, we also have an accelerated development program for information technology. Again, this is also going to be at our headquarters in St. Petersburg, Florida. And there are several different tracks. I will jump to the next slide in a second that will go over the different tracks for ADPIT. But what is awesome about this program is it's not rotational. So you basically become a subject matter expert in your area, so in your track. And on top of that, you get to work and do the same benefits as ADP Finance. So you'll have that mentor, you'll get to have lunch and learns, you get to network, you'll have hands-on experience, and you'll lead diverse and challenging projects. But on top of that, we pay for our IT associates to get certifications and licenses. And some of these certifications can be up to $18,000, and the firm pays for that. And on top of that, study time for these certifications are built into the program, so they get paid to study. So that is absolutely huge. We build a lot of technologies and platforms in-house, which intrigues a lot of IT folks. So this is also posted, and I encourage you to apply if you're interested in this as well. So these are going to be the different tracks you can apply to. We have application developer, and you can see the durations. They're not 19 months. They're from 6 months to 12 months, depending on the track that you're in. There's infrastructure and information tech security, project management, business analyst, data science, systems administration, and engineering. And then additional opportunities. If you don't want to do a program, you already know what you want to do, or you just want to join Raymond James in an entry-level position, we do have a ton of entry-level opportunities for students that are just graduating. And I listed a few departments that typically have openings. And we have asset management services, supervision, risk management, information technology, marketing, compliance, and operations. I do want to mention that most of these opportunities are going to be at our home office, but we do have a large operations function in Southfield, Michigan. So if you want to stay local and stay in Michigan, we do have a lot of opportunities and operations up there as well. But we do not recruit for these a year in advance like we do for our ADP programs, because we just don't know the headcount that far ahead of time. So we recommend students applying to entry-level positions 1 to 2 months before they graduate, because we'll have a better idea of the opportunities at that point. And then now for any younger classmen. So if you're not graduating this year, we have an internship development program. This is probably my favorite part of my job, is planning this development program each summer. It's a ton of fun, but it is a 10-week full-time paid summer internship. We have interns, about 100 corporate interns at our home office. We have a smaller group in Memphis, and then another smaller group in Southfield for our corporate internship program. But during the 10 weeks, they spend about 35 hours a week in their department. They'll be working in projects, and of course, just getting an understanding of the ins and the outs of that area. And then we have all of our interns come together for 5 hours a week to do lunch and learns with, we'll do fireside chats with our executive leaders. We'll do different developmental workshops for them, and then we'll do different fun and social events such as like laser tag, karaoke, trampoline centers, and things like that. And then we do a volunteer day as well. So it's a really great combination of the work, the development, and the fun. And what's awesome is any of our interns that are going into their senior year that are interested in any of our accelerated development programs are able to interview the last week of our internship. So we call it our senior super day. And basically we'll have a full day of interviews for these students that are going to their senior year to interview with the hiring managers for these accelerated development programs. And if they're accepted, they basically
Uh-oh, did we lose April?
Yeah, we might have lost her.
Uh-oh.
If she doesn't pop back in, I can start running with what I have to go over.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that. See what happens if she pops back in and figures it out.
Okay. That sounds good, Shane. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So here, let me turn my camera on. So I'm a financial advisor with Raymond James. I started right out of college. I went to Western. I'm from the east side of the state. I'm from Harrison Township. Went to Western, was in a group like this. It was a little different. It was sales and business marketing, and a couple financial advisors came in from, I think it was New York Life and Edward Jones. And I heard the presentation, and it just fit my personality and what I wanted to do, and it sounded lucrative. So I learned more about it, met with a few financial advisors to hear more about the day in the life, and that's what I'm going to go over. So right out of college, I actually started in this career as a financial advisor, a startup financial advisor. And the first thing, whenever I talk to college students or anybody getting into the career, is it's not a job I can sell. It's not something I can talk anyone into. You have to understand that at the beginning, it is 100% a sales job. And it still is to an extent. You back, April?
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened. It said try to rejoin the meeting, but I apologize.
No, yeah, I started running with it, but you can take back up and then I'll finish up.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Do you all see the screen again? I don't have too much longer, I promise.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. So anyways, if you're interested in these opportunities, we have some posted now. We'll continue to post some more throughout fall, and then we post another bulk in spring. If you are wanting to stay local in Michigan, we do have operations internships in Michigan, but those will be posted in spring. So hang tight if you're interested in those. And as I had mentioned before, if you're interested in getting an internship at one of our financial advisor branches, reach out to a branch of your interest that's near either your university or if you're going home for the summer in your hometown, and see what opportunities that they have. This is a list of departments that typically take interns each summer. However, there's a ton more. This is just the ones that typically take them every summer. So again, some are posted now, and we will continue to post more of those opportunities. And then now, Shane, back to you. You can go ahead and talk to them about wealth management, of your financial advising experience, and share any advice with them.
Yep. So I already covered a little bit, but I started at Western, or went to college at Western. I was in a group like this, and then heard from a couple financial advisors that fit my personality. And so I ended up starting with Edward Jones, and I'll get to that in a second. But the first thing I always tell anybody is this isn't a job that you can sell. It's not a career you can sell someone into. It either makes sense for them or not. It is a sales job. It is not exactly what I pictured myself doing after I graduated right out of college. But I can tell you that all my mentors and everything that I was going into the career for, it definitely paid off. I'm now 34. I've been doing it, 12 years now. I'll get to that and the income level and the flexibility that the job has and some of the rewarding parts. But the beginning is difficult. There's a 90% failure rate from day one that a standalone financial advisor starts, and 3 years from that day one. So I always give that stat because it was a stat that was given to me. And keep in mind, I'm just talking about the financial advisor role, not all the other roles that April was talking about. But that was a stat that was given to me, and it never really scared me because I knew I had full control over how many calls I was making or what have you. And again, it's not exactly what you picture yourself doing when you get out of college, of knocking on doors or cold calling or what have you. But if it was easy, everybody would do it. And for that reason, it can be very lucrative and a lot of flexibility later on. I'll get to that. So the AMP program, AMP, is called Advisory Mastery Program. It's similar to what I went through when I started. And what happens is a firm like Raymond James, or when I was at Edward Jones, they would pay a salary, and then you would have a certain level of numbers to hit. You would have to pick up a certain number of clients to keep the firm happy that you're on a growth trajectory to be profitable eventually for yourself and the firm. I can tell you that these programs, because they exist because the average age of the financial advisor is, I think it's like late 50s. So they see the writing on the wall that there's not a whole lot of young people getting into this career, and not a whole lot of young people that really, frankly, want to get out of college and start doing some of the sales stuff. But this is why these programs exist, because I did run one in Birmingham, Michigan for couple years now, and it's not a profitable situation where you're paying a ton of salary. There's not a whole lot of income coming in for the firm, but it's a great opportunity for financial advisors. If you get on board and you're doing the right things, it's a great opportunity to get a salary for a couple years until you get a client base under your belt and start growing from there. April, do you have that timeline I sent you? Is there any way to throw that up there? And how much time do I have? Like 5 more minutes, just so I have a little sticky note that I don't want to just.
We're good till 7:30, so I mean, just go for it.
I definitely won't be going till 7:30, but that gives me.
No,
So
you're good.
This is that training timeline that basically I went through when I started 12 years ago. The first 4 months basically is just that was one of the worst periods for me. I hate studying. And it was just 4 months of studying, right? Because you got to pass what's called the Series 7, the Series 66, and then life, accident, and health. You got to get those 3 licenses before you can do business. So that's the first 4 months. They're doable. Just trust me there. If I passed them, it can be done. So once that's done, then there's what's called the learning and coaching program. So months, let's call it 5 to 11. That's where you're able to start doing business for yourself. So if you get business in the door, you can bring them on as a client and start doing what you got to do and start learning how to open an account, get the portfolio. There's always someone there to help you manage a portfolio, so you're not just blindly. Sorry, my dog's whining at me. I got to let him out real quick.
I love working from home.
Oh, I was at the office, but now we're looking at 7. So anyways, where was I? So there's the learning and coaching program where you're not required to do any type of production, but any clients you bring on, you can still do. And there's certain things that you get trained on in the real world, like sitting in on financial advisor meetings, phone calls, all the different things that you need to know before you actually start doing business. This is a very long runway, a much longer runway than I had when I started. And the salary is much healthier as well. And then so you see at the bottom, you'll see HOV1, HOV2. That's you going to home office in St. Pete because they have a training program. You'll be in the branch that you end up getting hired in if you get hired in as a financial advisor in this program. And you go down to St. Pete for their training as well. That's what the home office visit. You go down there for like a week or 2. And then you're up and running after year 1 where you have certain requirements to hit. I can tell you they're not difficult. At least I didn't find them difficult. I didn't consider myself a fast starter. I was not a fast starter, but I did what it took to make sure I got the certain number of clients in the door to keep the firm happy and keep going. Then you notice that's the blue bar, and then the next gray bar is the beginning of year 2, or the beginning of year 3. I'm not going to get too much into the numbers here, but you can expect if you're doing average numbers to make between $50,000 and $70,000 a year is what I would guess. If you're knocking out of the park, I mean, I've seen people do much better than that, but you really have to be a driven salesperson to do any better than that. I can tell you that I was an average starter. I was that yellow line there that you see, and the first couple of years of my career, I was making $50,000. A lot of my friends were doing a lot better and, didn't have to do the sales part, but that's the rewards later on, as I'll tell you in a minute. It was worth it during that time. I had a certain number of mentors that said, look, I know this isn't what you expected. There's times where it gets really difficult. You feel like you're moving sideways or backwards in your business, but just keep doing what you're doing and it will pay off, and it has. The WMAP program. So there's 2 programs I'm going to talk about. This one that I just talked about, which is the Advisory Mastery Program. And then I'm briefly going to cover the WMAP, which I don't even know what it stands for. I know what the position is, but it's what is a Wealth Management Advisor Program?
Yep, Wealth Map is what I call it for short.
Okay. So this is a newer position. And what this is it's more designed for people right out of college or certain people to get into the business and learn the business before they get into the AMP program, which I just covered, where you're actually doing financial plans for financial advisors within a branch. You get to know the business a little bit. You get to help out the branch, and it gets you to start building up clients a little bit longer. So this is a newer program. I'd imagine with COVID, because they had just rolled it out, this might be a little bit more frozen, this program. I'm not sure. But the AMP program, if this is something that you're interested in, is being a financial advisor, feel free to email me. I'm shane.brown@raymondjames.com. And there's a couple of hubs nearby that I can set you up with and get you an interview. The one that I've been working out of and I have a relationship with is the one downtown Birmingham here in Michigan. So if you're interested, email me and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that. So I was going to talk a little bit about my path. I started out of Western Michigan, was in a company, Edward Jones, you may have heard of it. It's similar to Raymond James. I started there right out of college and was building my business on my own. I started an office here in Harrison Township where I am now and I live and grew up. And yeah, I was building my business. The numbers I can tell you for the first couple of years were around $50,000 a year. It slowly grew as I developed my client base. The salary goes away and you continue building your client base and there's trails and commissions involved. And now I'm in my early 30s and I'm doing north of 200,000. And, you know, I say that just because when you're in college and you're looking at different jobs, that's got to be a big part of what you're looking at. That's what I was looking at, a return on investment. But the reality is the beauty of the career is how flexible it is. I have a lot of clients that I consider friends. You know, I got married a couple years ago. A lot of my clients are invited. I get invited to their kids' graduation party. There's a lot of cool parts of this career that you don't get at other careers, aside from the fact that it can be really lucrative, but the flexibility. I'm my own business owner, and that is true and true. I'm at a point in my career where I can coast and, you know, there's a certain level of referrals that come in, or I can be hungry and grow and work really. I mean, there's a lot of flexibility on what you can do at this stage of the career. And what I'd imagine a lot of you guys are in this group for, judging by the name, is some of the fun part, which is managing portfolios, researching stocks, putting together a proper asset allocation for a client, which I'm doing right now because I do it this time of year in the fall. And then by December, I implement any portfolio changes that I do in my managed portfolios. So that's some of the fun part. It's some of the stuff that gets lost in it whenever I talk about the training program as a financial advisor, for the simple fact that you can be the smartest financial advisor in the world, but you'll never make it if you're not decently a salesperson. So anytime I talk to a group like this, a younger group, I always focus on that for that reason, because that's just the reality of it. Day in the life as a financial advisor. I keep looking at my sticky note over here because I made some notes of what I want to talk about, but I don't want to blab forever. I'm going to go over what happened today. The busy parts of my career my year is definitely after September. It slows down around the holidays, and then January to April, it picks up big time again, right? So right now I'm in a very busy part where calls are coming in. September hits, summer's over. Everything people have been procrastinating, get back in the rhythm. They're now making calls and figuring out whatever they got to do, right? So this is just the nature of the beast of Michigan, which I appreciate because my phone barely rang all summer, and that's year after year. That's part of being in Michigan. So today I had a client that's selling a business giving me an update. We've already had a financial plan of he's selling his business, a skilled trades business here on the east side. It's going to go for about $1.5 million. That is going to be his share after taxes. So we've planned that he's got to live off this for the rest of his life. So that's one call that I had. He was updating me on the timeline there. A client called and turned an income stream on that we've been waiting for out of a product that she had from years ago. And now we're basically turning on a pension stream and how that looks. So filed some of that paperwork. A client came in at 4:30 today. This was an impromptu appointment. Something's been on his mind that, you know, he's looking to retire. He's 65 next month. He's retiring at 68 in 2 months. That's when he's decided. So we updated his social security numbers. I plugged it all in the financial planning software that I use, and we went through it. It does not look good. This is not a client that he went through a divorce later in life. We went through that, but nonetheless, it doesn't look good. So I had to have the conversation that, you're in good shape. You're not in bad shape, but I would recommend going to age 69, maybe going part-time from 68 to 69. And that drastically changed the report. So that's one. I like to deliver plans that say you're going to be good no matter what. But the reality is with this fella, I had to be honest, and that's just part of the job sometimes. Very receptive, but he just wanted to get a grasp of his numbers. We've been over this plan multiple times, but it's good to come in every once in a while and review it. And this was on his mind, so I made it happen. And then the last one that I just jotted down real quick of the day in the life is updating and rebalancing portfolios. This is the fun part. So I have all my portfolios, and I pay for Morningstar Advisor Workstation where I keep all the portfolios in. And I was adjusting those, swapping certain funds in and out of what have performed, what haven't, and just making sure it sticks within the asset allocation. And that's the fun part. So I spent some time in there, and over the next couple of months, all my clients with those portfolios, I'll be giving calls to implement those portfolios. It's real easy to do with technology now. So you kind of set it, click a button, and it kind of does it for you. I would like to get a question. If one of you got to have one question for me on top of your head. Justin Helverson, you're the first one looking. Throw any question at me.
Yeah, absolutely. So a question I've always wondered, I like to ask people is, so what would you do with the knowledge you have now outside of college? What would you be doing if you could go back to college? So what should our students be doing if we've decided we want to be an advisor to make sure we set ourselves up for success?
That is a good question. Well, first of all, have fun in college. Join as many of these organizations as you can. I know sometimes it seems kind of like a waste of time, or you end up in a board meeting that, like, what are we even talking about? But I promise you, it pays off. You become more skilled than you think from it. I realized that later on. I joined a lot of these groups, anyone that I could join, and I learned a lot from it. That is some advice I would give. To prepare for the financial advisor role, really rack your brain on if the sales part of it is worth the beginning couple of years, because it's really hard to do. It's not fun at the beginning. I mentioned I run the training program in Birmingham. There are 8 standalone new advisors in there under me that I've been working with for the last couple of years, and I see the emotions behind them. When you have a certain sales funnel, right? And you're calling certain people, and someone's telling you they got a 401k at Merrill Lynch and they're not happy with their advisor. You're talking to them, you're having good conversations. You finally set the appointment, and the day of, they call and cancel on you for whatever reason. This happens when you're new. It's just part of it. This is why it's a sales job, and you got to have a lot of people in the pipeline, because it's difficult to get it to that next level. That's frustrating when it's, I don't know how to put it other than it can be very emotional at the beginning. Unless you have thick skin. I've seen a lot of people with thick skin do a lot better than me out of the gate, but rack your brain if you can handle that part of it. If you can, this absolutely is a career that I would recommend getting into. If not for the fact that I mentioned earlier, if you just look at the age groups, that if you get in this career and you get established and people like you or whatever, there are so many financial advisors that have these massive books of business that are going to be retiring, and they need young people to take them over. That's the whole reason why Raymond James and all the other firms have these programs in place, is because they know people are going to be retiring and someone's going to have to take over these businesses. And I can tell you, I'm going to give you one example. There's an individual in my particular office where he got it. He was about my age now. He got an opportunity to take over a business of someone who was retiring. He was working really hard. He was doing very well, but he was a trainee. And the guy retiring took a liking to him and basically handed him the business, right? So this guy in my office took over this business over the years. He's a very bright guy, very structured, totally deserving, but also got very lucky. in that he bought this guy out. And I can tell you that I'm just going to throw an income level at you. He's about 4 years older than me. He's making about $800,000 a year at least right now. Now, it's not all about the money in this career, but once you get established, or if you end up in one of these situations, it definitely doesn't hurt, especially when you got to look at college as a return on investment in some form. So, I'm not sure. I've just started rambling. What was the question?
No, you definitely answered it. Thank you. But Oscar, go ahead.
No, I was just reiterating the question. None, you're good.
I think we have a hand up though for another question.
So I have a question for I guess the people who are interested in sales and are the sales and marketing types, but are stressed out about the licensing and learning the technical side of the business simultaneously while balancing that stress level. Like, do you have any advice for taking these licensing exams while you're trying to build a book of business?
So that was my stressor when I was wanting to get in the career. And I actually asked this exact question to multiple financial advisors because I'm not a good test taker. I was a big crammer, right? Wake up at 5 a.m., drink a bunch of coffee, study for the exam. Sorry, kids are walking in the door. How was soccer, bud? So, where was I? Oh, yeah. I would tell you that I would not worry about that part of it. I would not worry about the exams because I was a crammer. I wasn't someone who was good at studying long term and then took an exam. And they're fine. I mean, they pay you a salary to take the exam, so you have plenty of time. You don't have to worry about anything else. If there's one thing you can do ahead of time, April reminded me that they have the SIE, which you do not have to be sponsored by a firm like Raymond James to take. You can, I don't even remember what it stands for, but it's like the Series 7 is the big exam you have to take, and the SIE is like the intro level to that. And what it does to a firm is it shows that this person took initiative to go take the SIE by themselves. So right out of the gate, your resume goes to the top because it's not super difficult. It's super intro level to the Series 7, but if you're interested, definitely put your resume on the top.
Yeah, I see another hand. Vincent, go ahead.
Yeah, so Shane, I got a question for you. So you mentioned that at the beginning of your experience when you were talking to it about it, you said you attended a club that was more sales and marketing focused. Is that what you kind of graduated with from college?
So I'm not a good test taker. For whatever reason, I was like double major with a extra minor in college, thinking I was like doing good when I was really just wasting a bunch of tuition dollars and I could have been going towards my master's or something. I had a major in sales and business marketing, a major in management, and then I minored in finance. So it was kind of like all together made sense for financial advisor, but my personality in general is just kind of outgoing. I've always been comfortable around people. Sales intrigued me just for the simple fact that you had full control over how much money you made or how well you did. If you want to slack, you can slack. If you want to do really well, you can do really well. And those relationships you build on themselves. I can tell you that I haven't made a sales call in 8 years. It's just strictly referrals, and it's much more enjoyable now than it was when I started. But the only way to get here is by doing the beginning part. So it was all the above.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, Oscar, go ahead. Anyone can just shout out your questions as they come.
Sure. All right. So Shane, you talk about the emotional highs and lows of what it's like to come in at that early phase and do the sales and kind of go through that initial ringer. How do you set yourself up? You already talked about how you set yourself up for success, but how do you get through that phase? Some people might have, more personally me, I don't have as tough skin as somebody else might be. Rejection kind of hurts. So how do you prepare yourself for that as somebody who's willing to go through that phase to get to the next level?
So these companies, have put a fair amount of investment in, and they have history and tweaked the training program as it went. So they basically, I did what they told me. They said, do this, I did it. I didn't do as much as I was supposed to. I can tell you at Edward Jones, they're at the time, it was like you go on, knock on doors, you introduce yourself. Hi, my name is Shane. I'm opening an office down the street here. Here's my business card. And, people just want me off their doorstep, right? But here's my card. They see a guy in a suit, whatever. Good to meet you. I leave. I send them a thank you card immediately after. And then you're supposed to have a good enough conversation where you get the phone number. And then you call them with an investment idea or something maybe that you talked about on the doorstep 2 weeks down the line, see how the conversation goes, maybe keep dripping on them, right? Until maybe, all right, let's have a meeting. I have this old 401k that I need to roll over. You seem nicely, that's what it is, right? But what I found is I was doing this, but I wasn't good enough at getting phone numbers. So I would look up the phone numbers, okay? At the time, you could do that. People, you still can do it, I think, but home phone numbers were easier to get then in 2008-ish. So then you had to go down to home office at a certain point with this big pool of people you had met and make phone calls. And I'm going down there thinking, well, I'm getting fired. I mean, I didn't get as many numbers as they said I was supposed to, but I did get some numbers. And what I found is I started making these phone calls down there, and I was setting appointments that I was not expecting to set, and conversations were going fantastic. So me meeting them face to face, having whatever conversation I had with these people in general, because they were all different, leaving them my business card, and then sending the thank you card. Thank you for allowing me to introduce myself. I appreciate your time. If there's anything I can do for you and your family, give me a call. That was the thank you card, handwritten. And then you put your business card in there, business card or magnet. Hopefully it makes it to the fridge, and then you follow up with the phone call. This went really well, better than I expected. And I did, like I said, I went down there thinking I was getting fired, and I ended up getting plenty of appointments set. Everything was good. Apparently this is part of their plan. They know that it's not fun. They know that you're not hitting as much numbers as they said to do. So what I was getting at is that they have a process down as long as you follow whatever training program they have. It just works out if you just do it. I mentioned, you asked the emotional part of it. So I work with a lot of these trainees now, and the best way I can get through to them is just that I've been there. I'm not that far ahead of you. And, it's just part of it. It's just part of it. And yeah, they kind of see where I'm at in life now. And I wasn't a fast starter by any means, but it's where they want to be.
Understood. Thank you.
Well, thank you all so much for letting us speak with you. I'm going to go ahead and put on the last slide, which is my contact information. Shane gave you his email as well. So please feel free to reach out to us if you have any additional questions, and definitely check out our student and recent grad page for our internship opportunities and our postgraduate opportunities. Alrighty. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.